The views expressed on the following broadcasts do not necessarily reflect those of KHLT, Take 12 Radio, or our affiliates. The opinions on this show should not be considered as medical, psychological, or professional advice and are those of the host, co-host, and guest. Take 12 Radio and KHLT Recovery Broadcasting are not affiliated with any particular 12-step fellowship. Co-hosts Melissa T, Bruce H, and the Monty Man.
From the Big Book, page 161, third edition, in A Vision for You. They knew they had a host of new friends. It seemed they had known these strangers always. They had seen miracles, and one was to come to them. They had visioned the great reality, their loving and all-powerful Creator. Welcome to the great reality, my friends. Welcome, Melissa, and welcome, Bruce.
Hello. How are you?
This is a bittersweet day for us here at Take 12 Radio because Melissa is moving to where?
Michigan.
Michigan. The Great Lakes are up there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The Great Lakes State.
The Great Lakes State.
Also known as God's country.
My son's
Wait a minute. I thought that was Oregon.
That's where my son lives, up there.
Oh.
Is in Michigan?
Mm-hmm.
If I see him, I will tell him you said hello.
Well, but you might go to he's a psychologist.
Oh, that would be different.
Yeah. You'll either go to him or avoid him.
I wouldn't recommend him.
Listen to you. So it's bittersweet. Bitter because we're going to miss your face, but sweet because she's not going to getting away from us that easy. We're going to be, having her join the show from time to time, or even more often than she would maybe even want to over the phone. And then hopefully, if everything goes well, Marv R. is going to be sitting in Melissa's chair.
Oh, wow.
Hopefully starting next week. But Melissa's going to be getting a phone call from us.
We replaced you with a cowboy.
With a cowboy.
No comparison.
So when you get settled, and let us know, and we'll be giving you a jingle. I told my son that. I said, give me a jingle when you get there. About someplace. He went, what's a what? I go, a jingle. And I thought, oh, that's right. I forgot. You're 17. He thought I was talking about, Christmas or something. All right. So, Melissa, this is your last day in the studio.
Yes.
And that sucks.
You might as well tell it like it is.
Yeah, that's a bummer. But you got some great plans. You're going back. The family's back there, right?
Yeah, my parents and my brothers.
So it's exciting.
It's my hometown.
It's your hometown. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's cool.
Where I got sober.
Yeah. Oh, right on. So good for you. Congratulations for that.
Thank you.
And we'll be touching on that a little bit more a little later on the show. I'm not going to tell her why. The Dangers of Self-Reliance Part 2. We're wrapping this up this week. Last week, we had continued Part 1. The Monty Man was not in the studio, and neither was Melissa and Bruce. I was down at the Evolution of Addiction Treatment Conference in Los Angeles, and it was phenomenal. It really, really was phenomenal. There's a lot of conferences and symposiums, especially in the LA area. They're going on all the time. But this is different because we're talking about some hard issues here. And, I remember 2 years ago, one of the big things that we talked about a lot was Suboxone and Vivitrol and some of these medicated assisted treatment procedures. And not that there's not a place for that, but that seemed to be, part of the evolution of addiction treatment. And this year, I was really pleased to see a lot of people returning to, once again, the 12-step model as being the gold standard, and that was talked about a lot more. And I was really, really pleased to see that. Now, one of the people that I enjoyed the most on there was a guy named Rabbi Taub. And this guy he's an Hasidic Jew. I mean, he's old school. He's wearing the
with like the curls and everything.
Yeah, he didn't have the curls. We got the big long beard and the black hat and the Keanu Reeves coat, and you would think this guy'd be really solemn and everything, but he's hilarious. He's a crack up. But he said something he was the closing speaker on Sunday, and he said something that it floored me. It made so much sense. He was so right on. He said, "Have you ever made something from scratch? Like a cake, right? You don't get the box mix. You go to the store, you get the eggs, get the flour, you make it from scratch." He goes, "No, you don't. That's not from scratch. You didn't make the egg. You didn't make the flour. There's only one person that can make something from nothing, and that's God. We don't make something from nothing. He makes something from nothing." And he says, so bottom line, you're nothing. You're nothing. And God created you out of nothing. He made something from nothing. So without him, recovery or anything else in life, you're lost. And he's talking to a room full of, 600 clinicians. And you can hear them squirming because some of these guys are all science-based and everything else. He goes, "Oh, sorry, I'm just telling you the truth. Without the Creator, you are nothing." And I was like, wow. And we talk about 0 + 0 = 0. Bruce says it all the time.
That's awesome.
What an awesome thing. That is not demeaning or anything. That's just recognizing. Humility is really the best definition I've ever heard of humility is an honest self-assessment. Who I am and who I'm not. Mm-hmm. And without God, it's not.
That's quite a statement.
It is a statement. Yeah. I mean, you can imagine standing in front of a bunch of, scientifically minded clinicians and making a bold statement like that. No. Holy moly. Anyway, I had him on the show several years ago, and he came up to me. This was before he spoke on Sunday. I didn't know he was behind me. He goes, "Monty, man." I turn around and here's this. He's like 6 foot something, all dressed in black. And I mean, and he just gave me this big rabbi kind of hug. You know what I mean? It was just awesome. Just a really cool guy.
Our pride and our ideas that we have, when somebody brings that to you and it doesn't fit in with your thinking and your ideas of things, your pride, and your defiance comes out.
Oh yeah,
and it's even in me with who I am and my love for the Lord. There's a piece of me still that
we don't like that.
For that doesn't like that.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, it just twinges. See,
he's twinging.
I can imagine what's going on with these people when you say something like that.
Oh, I know.
And I think that it's important for us to ruminate on those things, for that'll be in our heads instead of the twinge.
Yeah, you bet.
Restless, irritable, and discontent.
All right, so let's hear from Serenity Springs. We'll come back with recovery news and focus and some trivia and have a little fun, and then we'll get into our topic, the dangers of self-reliance, part 2. Don't go away.
When I first came to Serenity Springs, I never thought I could stay clean and sober. And then after being through the 12 steps and getting closer to God and just learning how to live, I can't imagine life with drugs and alcohol anymore.
Introducing Serenity Springs Recovery Center, a fully licensed residential drug and alcohol dependence treatment center for men, specializing in helping individuals with substance abuse problems. Addiction is a disease that deteriorates the body, punishes the mind, and destroys the spirit. Addiction needs to be attacked on all 3 of these fronts.
They work to
steps, they work them extremely hard. Finding God is a big part, and that's what they did for me. They gave me a life second to none.
Residents live in resort-style accommodations and are able to participate in numerous on-site activities.
Golf and working out, playing basketball a lot.
Serenity Springs is a unique facility that is committed to providing exceptional individual care in small group settings.
They talk about life beyond your wildest dreams. I never thought that was possible for me, and today I'm living it.
And just being connected. Guys are like my brothers, just a big family.
At Serenity Springs, they want to make a life-changing investment into your recovery. For more information, contact their 24-hour admissions department at 386-423-4540 or visit their website at serenityspringsrecovery.com.
It's really amazing what's happened. I mean, it's nothing short of a miracle.
Well, that's right, my friends. It's time for Monty Man's Recovery News in Focus, brought to you by TheFix.com and sponsored this week by Serenity Springs Recovery Center, a fully licensed all-male residential treatment facility located in beautiful Edgewater, Florida. They offer 45, 60, and 90-day individualized treatment programs and honor most insurance providers. Please contact their 24-hour admissions department at 1-844-377-7464. All right, Tennessee, the state of Tennessee, adds its name to a growing list of states failing miserably to institute an effective testing program. Here we go. A recent law was passed in Tennessee amongst welfare applicants to submit to a drug test. And we've heard of this, right? People saying, you shouldn't be on welfare if you can't pass a drug test. A lot of states are doing that. Well, of the many thousands that applied, only a handful tested positive. In total, 16,017 applicants applied for the family's first cash assistance program. Of those, 37 were denied out of that entire bundle.
Wow.
After testing positive for drugs. While the initiative is meant to weed out those individuals who have consumed illicit substances, some say the new rule unfairly singles out those with a low income. Quote, you are requiring more than 16,000 people to be screened for drug use based on an assumption that people who receive public assistance are more likely to use illegal drugs, end quote, said Hetty Weinberg, executive director of the ACLU of Tennessee. There's no evidence to indicate that's true. And although I have my feelings about the ACLU, he's correct.
That's her assumption.
Yeah. Well, here's the deal. Just because somebody's low income, is it fair to assume that they're on drugs? I don't think it is.
No, that's her opinion.
Right.
That's what they're not. I don't believe they're being targeted because of low income.
Weinberg is against the drug testing of public benefit applicants and feels that the state should instead allocate those resources to provide treatment. We support the need to combat drug addiction, but if the state truly wants to combat addiction, they should use the resources to fund drug treatment programs rather than blocking access to public benefit applicants because we're talking about providing for families, said Weinberg. Now, here's the other flip side of the coin. Some, like Representative Glenn Casada, however, believe it's important to keep those applicants who test positive for drugs out of the program. That's 37 people who should not be receiving taxpayer subsidies because they are not behaving as they're supposed to, said Casada. If the taxpayers are going to support you, there are certain criteria you need to adhere to. This is a good use of taxpayer money. The overall cost to fund the program over the last 6 months has been $5,995. That's really not that much, including the purchase of the required drug test. Those applicants who tested positive were disqualified and referred to a drug treatment program. So they were referred to a drug treatment program. And I have to tell you, if my taxpayer money is going to something, I want you to fulfill the criteria, even if it means that you have to wear blue tennis shoes. Wear the blue tennis shoes, for crying out loud.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I'm kind of on the side of Castada myself.
Yeah, me too.
Me too.
Yeah. All right. What do you think? Email us at take12radio@comcast.net. All right. Story number 2. The celebrated journalist David Carr. Do you know who David Carr is? Mm-mm. David Carr died at 58 on February 12th, which was just, Saturday?
No, Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day. Shortly before, Valentine's Day is the 14th.
I know. Saturday was Valentine's Day.
Saturday was on.
Okay.
Okay. Well, David Carr. We're all messed up. Well, I won't be hired on CNN or Fox, that's for sure. David Carr, noted New York Times columnist and celebrated book author, was found unconscious in the Times newsroom. Carr was later pronounced dead at St. Luke's Roosevelt Hospital. The culprit, lung cancer and heart disease. He was 58. Carr was known as the author of the Media Equation column for the Times, deeply regarded and respected. He was a journalist at the top of his field. He also worked with 60 Minutes. Excuse me. He was also the author of The Night of the Gun. In his memoir, he used his journalistic skills to interview those closest to him to recreate a period of his life when his addiction to crack and alcohol nearly killed him. Carr recounted with an eerie and almost detached voice the horrors of his dependence on substances that led to the loss of his home, children, health, and career. Christy, behave yourself. What if I told you, this is what Carr says, what if I told you I was a fat thug who beat up women and sold bad coke? Now what if I said that I was a recovered crack addict who got custody of my twin girls, got us off welfare, and raised them? Both are the story of my life, he wrote. The book spoke not only of the near total destruction of addiction by a unique and extremely talented journalist and father, but the slow rebuilding of a man Carr would become. Upon achieving abstinence, Carr went on to remarry, raise his 3 children, and create a professional career that brought him widespread respect and showcased his brilliance. I now inhabit a life I don't deserve, he says. But we all walk this earth feeling we are frauds. The trick is to be grateful and hope the caper doesn't end anytime soon. Just hours before his death, Carr moderated a panel to discuss the Academy Award-nominated documentary Citizen4 with the film's subject, NSA whistleblower Edward Snowden. So Carr was a part of the 60 Minutes group. He was a Times guy and a fellow journalist, and that's why I wanted to talk about that, because as mediocre as we are at St. Louis Radio, this is journalism. Story number 3, Detroit Lions president Tom Leland opened up about his alcoholism. Tom Leland, president of the Detroit Lions football organization, gave a candid speech about his struggles with and recovery from alcohol addiction, which he accredited to a renewed sense of faith. Leland spoke about his past at the Orion, Michigan campus of Kensington Church, where Reliance chaplain Dave Wilson serves as pastor. His dependency on alcohol began through experimentation in high school days. By the time he was attending the University of Michigan, alcohol was something I consumed that it pretty quickly consumed me, he said. For a period, Leland was able to balance his life and rapidly ascending career with his alcohol dependency. Even as family and friends began to confront him about the issue, he says, I had a great job, and by the standards that the world judges us, I was doing just fine. Leland's ability to hide from his own issues fell to pieces on June 25th of 2010 when he was jailed for driving with a blood alcohol level of 0.21. I laid down on that hard, cold floor in that cell and had what was simultaneously one of the worst and one of the best nights of my life, he said. One of the worst because I didn't know what my future was going to be. One of the best because I finally gave up. I knew that I couldn't do it. Leland credited his renewed faith with helping him get through the early days of his sobriety when he was suspended from the National Football League for 30 days, fined $100,000, and sentenced to 6 months probation. And he continues to attribute his health and well-being to his relationship with the church and with God. Though in his speech he was honest about the daily challenges of sober living, he says, I'd like to tell you that everything since that day has been sunshine and roses of the last 4.5 years, Lehman said. It's easy to get complacent because while alcohol may not be a part of my life anymore, teenagers still are, my marriage still is, stress at work, referees who pick up flags, all of those things. And I have to, on a daily basis, pay attention to my relationship with the Lord because my complacency shows up if I feel that distance between God and I beginning to take place.
Is it just me, or did we hear anything about Carr being faith-based or not?
But yeah, he is.
The one that
the one that passed away.
Yeah.
No, we did not.
Yeah, see, that amazed me that we had 3 stories here.
Yeah.
And 2 of them were contributed to their faith. Is what saved them.
Yeah.
And it's very evident that they were talking about that they give credit to that and to the Lord. And we didn't hear that from Card. I'd like to know if he was a faith-based man.
I don't know. Mm-hmm. I do not know. Do not know. But he didn't talk about it, or they didn't talk about it. Anyway, sometimes the media won't talk about it.
Sometimes we don't find out stuff till we get to heaven.
I know. So that's it for Recovery News and Focus for this week. Wait, oh, you're going to love trivia. Melissa, you're going to love trivia. You're going to love it.
More candy bars?
It's time for Take 12 Trivia, Bruce.
Hello, Cecil.
All right, Take 12 Trivia this week is in honor of Melissa, the jewelry lady. This is jewelry trivia. Jewelry trivia. Are you ready? Here we go. Bruce is going, oh, brother. I'm never going to get this. Okay. Trivia question number 1. If you're looking for a metal that remains more durable than gold and keeps its color, consider what? And here are your 3 choices. Platinum, silver, or bronze?
Bronze.
Bruce says bronze. What do you say, Melissa?
You're going to say platinum.
Okay. More durable than what?
If you're looking for a metal that remains more durable than gold and keeps its color, consider what? Platinum, silver, or bronze?
Well, I am going to say platinum.
Well, Melissa? You would be correct. It is platinum. White gold can actually yellow, but platinum will stay true to its color, and it is heavier and more dense than gold. If you are prone to allergic reactions due to metals, platinum is 100% non-allergenic. White gold can contain nickel, and the nickel alloy can contribute to skin eruptions. Mm-hmm. So platinum is correct. Okay, number 2. When it comes to gold, it is fake or considered fake or junk when less than how much percent? 5%? 10%? Or 15%? Gold is considered fake or junk gold if it's less than 5%, 10%, or 15%.
15.
10.
Melissa, you're correct again. It is considered junk or even fake at 10%. That's right. To tell if a diamond is the real deal or if it's cubic zirconia, you would look for what? Here are your choices. Absolute transparency in the stone, flaws in the stone, or hardness of the stone. Tomorrow we have a show called Why Is That Funny?
Always starring Bruce. Always.
Oh, gosh.
So, to tell the difference if it's a real
How
diamond,
would I know any of those things?
I don't know.
How am I going to jump it down on the ring and look through it?
You know, we're beginning to wonder, what exactly do you know? Oh, Lord have mercy.
Good
Okay.
times. How about hardness?
Well, you would be incorrect. It's flaws in the stone.
See, and how would you wouldn't even know that unless you had one of them little things to put on your eye and look at it.
Well, one of the most reliable ways a jeweler can tell if a stone is an actual diamond is by looking for flaws. Genuine diamonds, almost without exception, will possess some kind of imperfection. Whereas cubic zirconia, perfectly done.
Oh, because it's man-made.
Yeah, but they're both just as hard, believe it or not.
The whole cut the mirror, cut the window test.
Yeah. That isn't. If you can cut a mirror and a window with a cubic zirconia. Okay, and here's your bonus question, Bruce. In nature, gold has a very specific color. Is it deep yellow, a light golden color, or almost silver?
Almost silver.
No, I've never gold mining. I know 2 people that have, and they said they were looking for this yellow stuff.
Well, Bruce is correct. It is deep yellow.
He gave
yellow.
that to you. That's nice.
Yeah. It is the different alloys and stuff that is put into the gold to make it harder, so it'll wear better. That gives it the lighter hue.
Oh.
Yeah, there you go. So Bruce,
I'd love to see that in nature.
there you go, Bruce. You get that. And so, do you have a website, Melissa?
For my jewelry lady stuff?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. It's melissatackett.mypremierdesigns.com.
Okay. Maybe we'll shoot that up on the website this week.
Thank you.
So write that down on here. Write that down there so I can put that on the website. All right. So if you want some jewelry from Melissa, you put on shows, you do all that stuff, and she'll sell you some, and it's now, good stuff.
I have 3 rings, and I'm going to get them taken apart and made into it. Put some emeralds in the corners of the other one, and a zirconium in the middle.
That's nice. Okay. Poor Bruce.
Now, that's the best I can do.
I know, Bruce.
He's telling a real jewelry thing.
I know.
And you laugh,
and
Monty.
I just laugh at him. What can I say?
Yeah. Okay. All right.
All right. Next week it'll be Bruce trivia. It'll just be Bruce. We did Bruce trivia one time.
Yes, we did.
We did.
Did he get them all right?
I don't think he got any of them right.
Oh, like about famous people named Bruce?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't know if he did or not. Maybe we'll do that again. All right.
I got Bruce Jenner.
Yep. All right. Listen to this.
Men, women, and their families experience tremendous pain and suffering due to the struggles they face from substance abuse and its co-occurring mental health challenges. They need to find a safe place for peace and healing. Therapia Addiction Healing Center was born out of a deep desire to provide that safe and powerful healing environment. Therapia exists to help people recover from addictions by developing and maintaining healthy, meaningful relationships with God, self, and others. To speak with an addiction specialist, call 1-855-652-4325. That's 1-855-652-4325. Or visit our website at www.therapia.net. Therapia Addiction Healing Center, restoring lives one step at a time.
Thank you for being a friend.
This is from Melissa.
Travel down a road and back again. Your heart is true, you're a pal and a confidant. I'm not ashamed to say, I hope it always will stay this way.
All right, we want to give Melissa, Bruce and I want to give Melissa a very special thank you for being our friend and for being part of this venture that is Take 12 Recovery Radio. Although you've been with us a short time, it has been very powerful. It has been very helpful, and we really, really enjoyed it. So it's not much. It's not much, but because you're such a colorful person,
Oh,
we wanted to give you some flowers. There you go.
These are beautiful.
And we just wanted to say thank you for your service.
Monty and Bruce, thank you for your service to Take 12 Radio, Monty and Bruce. And we've got pink, blue, yellow, red, and purple flowers. Thanks, guys.
Kind of do the rainbow. Well, we really do appreciate you, and we can't do this stuff by ourselves. We're talking about the dangers of stuff.
we can't. We
can't.
We can't have a good talk radio without people to talk with.
I know. Yeah, you're going to talk with if you have no one to talk with.
That's right.
You're going to talk to yourself, I guess.
Oh, gosh.
That got me into trouble for a lot of years. Yeah, I'll go use. Okay. I would tell myself that, and I'd obey every time. Well, listen. I I want to read to you. Bruce is going to read some stuff too, but I was going over the fear inventory with one of my sponsees, and although I've read this before, because the self-reliance thing has been our topic, this kind of just yelled at me and screamed out at me, and I want to read this. Before I do, though, I want to mention an article that was in the Huffington Post that has been the topic amongst a lot of folks recently in the world of treatment. I read it before I went to the Evolution of Addiction Treatment Seminar, and then while I was there, somebody on a panel referred to it. And it was called the true I don't know, was the true nature of addiction or the true source of addiction or something like that. And although the majority of the article I disagreed with, there was some elements that I agreed with, and one of them was community and how healthy it is to be in a positive community environment and that kind of thing. But it was really interesting because somebody on the panel at the conference referred to this article, and they didn't agree with all of it either, but they referenced a piece in the article that talked about this this experiment called Rat Park, where they took a rat and they put it in a cage by itself, and they gave it a tube of water and one of heroin. And the rat went to the heroin every time, even from the beginning. And it died. Then they took the same rat, but multiple rats, same species, everything else, and put him in another cage as a community and did the same thing, the water and the heroin. And they went for the water. And the conclusion was that, and we've heard it said in terms like stick in the middle of the herd, that kind of thing, right? That a healthy society, is the thing you need to keep you sober. And even though we were dealing with rats, that is really comparable to humans. And I understand the sentiment behind that because it is important to be surrounded around healthy people. But once again, what I was hearing by this panel was meetings keep you sober. And I was shaking my head thinking, we're missing it again. And some people that I have a whole lot of respect for was emphasizing the importance of community. And I do get that. I do not want to diminish the importance of a healthy community at all. We do need each other to hold each other up, to pray for each other, to work through the step process. Yes, we do. But when the emphasis is on that only, we forget about the one that we're gathering about. I mean, we forget about our Creator. We forget about God in many, many cases.
Yeah, the book says something about that we have a way out which we can absolutely agree upon. And I don't think that's true today.
I don't think it's true today either.
Yeah, because of this, what we're talking about, this discussion we're having.
I think we do have a way out we can depend upon, but agree upon, we're not agreeing upon it. And that's sad. Well, anyway, so again, I'm referencing the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous because if you want it, if you're doing another program, that's fine, but please don't call it AA. Call it your program or the other program or whatever you want to call it. But don't sit in an AA meeting saying that this is AA when it's not. If you're not referring to the guidelines and the literature that spells out what the AA program is, then you need to just refer to it as the AA fellowship. And please don't call it the program because it's not the program. The program is what's in this book. And this is what it says about that. In the fear inventory, it says we reviewed our fears thoroughly. We put them on paper, even though we had no resentment in connection with them. We asked ourselves why we had them. And here's the second question, wasn't it because self-reliance failed us? It failed us. This, of course, is referring to fear, and this is in step 4. It says self-reliance was good as far as it went, but it didn't go far enough. Some of us once had great confidence, but it didn't fully solve the fear problem or any other. That's key. It didn't fully solve the fear problem or any other. I wish I was in capital letters. Any other. When it made us cocky, it was worse. Perhaps there is a better way. We think so. For we are now on a different basis. The basis of trusting and relying upon the meetings, each other, our self-reliance. No, says God, capital G. We trust infinite God rather than our finite selves. We are in the world to play the role He assigns, just to the extent that we do as we think He would have us, and humbly rely on Him. Does He enable us to match calamity with serenity?
There's a whole show just in those two paragraphs.
Oh my gosh! You realize how powerful it is? So I am telling you, if you're having a problem with God, you had better work this step because if you're not including God in this whole mix of this recovery process, that is not you're not doing the AA program. You may be doing the AA fellowship, but you're not doing the AA program. And that's okay, but just admit it and move on, man. It just irks me to no end when people say, well, I've been in the program. No, you haven't. You've been in the fellowship. If you've been in the program, you would be talking about this stuff. You would be talking about God. So in those two paragraphs, it is chopping self-reliance right down to the ground. It's saying it doesn't work. Yeah. And so when I just say that self-reliance would include reliance upon the meetings, reliance upon community, reliance upon other human entities.
Yeah, reliance upon our sponsors.
Right.
And we know that sponsors are good things. We know that meetings are good things. We know the steps are good things. But tell what they are. The rooms are a place to go to feel safe, to hear a message. What message? And the steps are there to examine yourself, to give you the ability to stop looking at other people, to finally take a look at yourself and see your need for God. And when you do that, you'll go to Him humbly with a different attitude. That's what it's talking about there. When you see these fears that you had couldn't be eradicated on your own. Self-reliance, it failed you. You see what it means when you do your own fear inventory. So you do that. And then a sponsor is just a guide to take you through those steps. And that's what they're there for. Now, to be relied upon them and have them to call to and another person to talk to is one of the most wonderful things there are. But to be relied upon them for your recovery? No. No human power could relieve us. And if you know the hopelessness of your situation and you're seeking Him and He takes this crazy obsession away from you and you're free, you're going to give Him the credit. You're not going to give it to your sponsor. My sponsor, I'll be eternally grateful for. Most wonderful woman in the world. Really, I'm just so... Sure. And the trouble we had. But she didn't do this. She didn't have the power. Just like Bill said, was that power originated in Ebby? No, it had not. He had no more power than him at that moment, and that was none at all.
Yeah, in Bill's story. And so the response to my statement about the Huffington Post thing was met by somebody who I have an incredible amount of respect for. Said, yes, but I've known lots of people who were very religious and who were, in touch with God and so forth, that didn't get the recovery process, and they can't stay sober. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, you're right. You've met a lot of religious people that were in touch somewhat with God, but they weren't reliant upon Him. Mm-hmm. And that's what this is talking about.
Yeah. The thing that I've learned to accept in Alcoholics Anonymous is who I am. That's the only thing. Not people, places, and things, but who I am. And because of I accept who I am and my need for God, well, then I seek Him. He becomes very precious and very worthy to me because of my need. And that humbles me for the first time in my life. My dependence upon God has set me free. I'm a free man for the first time in my life.
Yeah.
See, and I want people to know that. Listen to what it says about the fear, because we hear people talk about all these crazy things they do. Listen to this. And the only way you're going to know if this works is to do it. It says here.
Where are you reading from, Bruce?
Same page you were.
Okay.
I'm just going to jump down to the bottom of the next paragraph. It says we never. So we could hear. I can't adjust my eyes. We never apologize for God. Instead, we let Him demonstrate through us what He can do. We ask Him to remove our fears and direct our attention to what He would have us be. At once, we commence to outgrow fear. See, in self-reliance, it failed us. Now, if self-reliance had really failed you, and you took your inventory and you was aware of that because you had taken this very aggressive, broad-scoped inventory on fear, then you tried this and it worked, you'd go, whoa. Here I've been having fear direct me and making me do things that I didn't want to do and stuff, and operate are these principles. And today, He's relieved me of that. He's made me a free man. I don't do that like I used to. Boy, I wouldn't give my sponsor credit for that or some steps for that. See, that's something that's transpired inside me that's taken place. I know I was a fear-based man. I know I was scared of women. You know what I mean? I know I was scared of the penitentiary, but where did I go behind my fear? Right into the penitentiary. Okay?
Yeah.
So it directed me, and it made me do crazy things. I stabbed a man, because I was afraid. Okay? It's crazy.
Wow.
Well, we do. And see, and so that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about, and that doesn't happen today with me. It's not that I'm not afraid, but the minute I put myself in His hands, I'm okay.
Regardless of how you feel.
And I'm going to stab somebody. I'm not saying I'm not going to go to war or something like it, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
I'm not going to do it out of fear. Mm-hmm. See, and I'm not going to then be worried about retaliation, be scared to death that somebody's going to get me now because of what I've done. You see, and now I got to live with that. Boy, that was a hard one, trying to get through that and hold your bud and act like
Yeah.
I'm cool.
We be bad.
Yeah, so.
What are your thoughts, Melissa?
Oh, just the fear and the self-reliance and Bruce's example specifically, it just points out it's just the insanity. It's just cutting down to some of the actual points inside the insanity, and so God reliance can bring us back to sanity, free us from that stuff.
Yeah.
Beautiful thing.
You said that word and we miss it. We think it's sobriety. It's sanity. Mm-hmm. We're not being restored to sobriety.
There you go.
Restored to sanity.
Yeah, He's changing my thinking.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so let me ask you, Melissa.
Okay.
You and for the listeners, they're listening to this on Wednesday. We tape this show on Monday. Today is Monday that we're taping it. Listeners, you're hearing it on Wednesday. So we control time.
And we're talking about sanity.
We're talking about sanity. But tonight, and it'll be 2 days from that, when the listeners hear this, you celebrate 15 years.
Yes.
Yes. I'm sure that those 15 years have not always been void of fear. Fear's been part of your walk, right? With any of us. How has that changed from day one when you walked into the rooms to your respective 12-step fellowship to today, 15 years later?
I've learned a lot just this year, just this time on this show. And I mean, God's just been doing a brand new work in me. But I will say that it's always been like this really amazing, vicious cycle, like a positive. Is there a word for that? I don't know. But where the program of Alcoholics Anonymous pushed me towards my God. And my God gave me understanding and a purpose in the fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous. And they've always just fed into each other in this really awesome way. So, yeah, I'm not... there's nothing. I know that there's nothing today that can derail me from what God has for me. There's nothing that would make me. I don't know. I just trust Him. I just know that He's the one that did all this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly what we have to work towards, is learn to build that trust. And what do we trust in, and where is our faith? The thing that amazes me, Melissa, is that as much as I love God, if I don't ruminate on Him, if I don't meditate on Him, I'll simply start to go towards that self-reliance again.
It's an automatic default, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just like, and I'll gravitate towards the meetings and towards my sponsor, and rely upon them before I go to God. And I'm not saying that's all bad, but what I'm saying is that I do that naturally if I'm not thinking of Him, and meditating on Him and letting Him change my thinking to thinking about the nutty things, the squirrel cage that's up here in my head, and replace it with Him and His principles, and His way of living.
That way.
The spiritual thing. Remember I told you about spiritual has everything to do with my beliefs, and my beliefs have everything to do with my values, and my values have everything to do with my conduct. And it's from the inside out that way.
Right.
That's spiritual. Hey, can I just trying to practice that instead of the self-reliance? And it's hard because I'm real comfortable there. Even though it's fear-based and it's taken me to the penitentiary, I've learned to live with that. That's who I am.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. It's not that it didn't harden the drugs and and all of that, the captivity, the self-reliance itself is the bondage. But to be relieved of that, to have something in my life that's give me the ability to break away from that, is I want people to know about that. So listen to what the book says it's all about. When we do these 12 steps, when we get a sponsor, when we're trying to fight this addiction, okay? It says lack of power. That was our dilemma. We had to find a power by which we could live, and it had to be a power greater than ourselves, obviously. But where and how was we to find that power? That's the question, see? Where is the location and how is the method by which we find it? And this book's going to tell you where to find Him and how to find Him. It says, well, that's exactly what this book's about. Its main object is to enable you to find a power greater than yourself, which will solve your problem. That means that we have written a book which we believe to be spiritual as well as moral. And of course it means that we're going to have to talk about God. Now that comes directly from the book. I didn't leave out no lines and nothing. And that's what it's about. And those steps are the method by which we do that. That's only the method. And the sponsor's the guide. And when it's done out of this book, the way Monty was talking about it was written, and we finish these steps, all 12 steps, that we've entered into a realm that is greater than any I've ever known. Now I have purpose, like you were talking about, in direction. I have something to offer that I never had before.
And that freedom that you're talking about.
That's right.
And now it's about power, not powerlessness. That is just so awesome, you know? Because how often do we hear this whole thing's about powerlessness?
Yeah. The book says we believe in ourselves and even more in the power that pulled us from the gates of hell.
Yeah.
Okay? We don't hear that. Okay? And that's because I think, here's what happened to me, and I think it happens to a lot of people. We come in, we're told to come to meetings, that meeting makers make it. We start to rely upon the meetings, things human. And the longer we're around there, the harder it is to convince us that we have to do these steps and need God. And they say, give the guy a break. Let him just do it in a year. See, and I'm not sure that that's right, to do a...
just take your time and all that kind of stuff.
See, I'm not sure. I think when somebody comes in, when they're still smarting from the addiction and they're a little shaky, and we make an approach to them and we talk with them, we tell them about the things that we've done, and you get them to start on this thing, and they start working their way through it. But if we just put it off, and then we go to them and say, well, listen, let's start with doing some writing, and maybe we ought to do a step 3, or you can go help a newcomer. What's he going to pass along? Get him to do a little service work. So he's going to start relying upon his service work and upon his ability to do it. That's self-reliance. Relying upon the steps and your ability to do them. That's self-reliance.
Yeah.
Praying and relying upon the prayer. That's self-reliance. It's about the one you're praying to.
It's
not. You see what I'm saying?
Right. And sometimes we do have to take those baby steps, those actions.
Sure.
Yes.
To connect with our higher power.
Yes.
Absolutely.
To get our feet wet. But it's supposed to be leading us to somewhere. It's not just that's the means to the end.
Yeah. What that's going to look like if you do it is going to be different if I do it. You see what I mean? The way I do the steps because of the way I've lived my life. But it's the same method we use. And people think they're different programs. Here, Monty said something that I want to just say before we close this program. When a person says to me that they're doing their own program, I believe them. I absolutely believe that they have told the truth. They're doing their program, not AA's. That's not my program. I could take what I want and throw the other out. How are you going to throw God out of this? Just the short time that we've been together reading this and doing these steps, how are we going to toss him out? Because we don't want him. Here's the huge one. You tell me if this isn't self-reliance. I can have a God of my own understanding. I can make him up. I could just, don't matter what it's based in. Just make him up. Tell me if that's not self-reliance.
Majorly.
You see
it just sounds absolutely crazy.
Well, when you think about it just for a minute. And that's what we're talking about here is we don't, and that's what we've been doing our whole life, and that's what we want to go back to. It is hard to break away from that. But that's why it's so important to understand step 1.
Yeah.
That gift of desperation that we get.
Here, the very first instruction, this is what you need to do kind of thing in this book says we had to stop playing God. That's number 1. So when we're creating God and we're making him up, that's playing God. We're the creator.
You bet.
Creating God.
And that's what it says. We got it right at the beginning. It says it won't work. It doesn't work. And then we turn around in the meetings and we say, just, make a list of all these things you want God to be and just create your own God. But wait a minute. Either you're going to go by what the book says, or you're not going to go by the book says. But make a decision. Don't be going back and forth, back and forth. It says we had to stop playing God.
Melissa, it's the most wonderful book in the world, because listen to this if you don't think that this isn't wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. I come to AA, and I'm absolutely terrified of God. I want nothing to do with him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? I think he's taken my mother from me and everything that I've ever loved. Okay? And how could he allow this to happen? The world. See, I put that right on God's shoulders. Okay? And I had this absolute fear of him in my life. And I come to AA, and I read something in the book, and it said this, that no matter, I didn't need another's conception of God. I could have my own. I know what that means. I'm not making it up. This is my conception, okay, who he is, wherever it came from. And no matter how inadequate it was, I could start from that point. It was a beginning. And upon that, a beautiful spiritual structure could be built. Now, that's amazing.
Yeah, and that's a key word, start.
Yes, that's the start. And that's
right.
Over and over and over again when it talks about these things. It says that's a beginning, that's a start. You can start from that point. That's the whole idea behind it. So when I read that, I started looking at the others and reading past where it talks about your own conception. And it does say those things. It's a start, it's a beginning. So I can start from that point. So then I did my inventory around God and seen what all that was based in. Where did it come from? And did I want to live by those things, by that fear and those things? Or could I change that? See, now I drug all that with me, see? But I knew I needed this power. So what I did was when I got to step 11, because I'm kind of like piecemealing this thing, it said go to your pastors, your rabbis, and ask them for other books that would help me with this spiritual life. So I went to them, and they gave me a Bible. And I started reading the Word of God. And I seen that I was wrong. The people that taught me were wrong. Some of it come right from the pulpit, Melissa.
Wow.
So I started to read what was in there when they were talking to me from the pulpit, I could hear and I could know if I was getting the wrong message or if they was just going deeper because God had gifted them. And I found that to be true, and I found me a church, and today I grow, and that's what I use for the basis for my spiritual walk. Other people use other things. I'm not here to convert, but I'm here to tell you that this marvelous thing took place. You know, and so I had this one way of looking at it, and then I got this other way.
I love it.
And he loves me, and I got an assurance with it, and I grow in that. Now listen, you're talking about trust. I've had not just my conversion, but many, many things I can tell you that's taken place in my life. Where's the fear gone? How come I haven't wanted to use? How come I haven't wanted to drink for all these years, yet every day I would wake up wondering where I could get the money for I could get the drugs? Every morning. It wouldn't go away until I get it.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I was loaded, after a while, it was where can I get the next one? So I never had any peace. That hadn't happened for years, literally years. Mm-hmm. Anyway, that's what I'm glad we're doing this self-reliance thing, and I want to tell you personally on the fair that you're a wonderful person.
Thank you.
Yeah, we love you.
Aww.
Yeah.
We're gonna miss you, but we have the phone.
We do. I'm just so glad. I can't believe that I never actually ever went to Take 12 Radio and listen to this stuff. I mean, the people that are listening to this, they have a resource. And I'm so glad that I'm taking that with me.
Oh,
you want me to tell you what I'm jealous about you?
Sure.
you're one of the best listeners that I've ever run across.
Oh, yeah.
You just, if I could have just a portion of that, for I could listen to others, for I could discern where they're at and meet them there. Oh, I'd be a unit then.
That is a huge compliment. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh,
true.
I don't see that in myself, but
it is true.
Yeah.
It is true.
thank you.
Let me share this. We're going to go on a couple minutes overtime here, but I feel prompted to share this. This issue of self-reliance is not limited to our 12-step support meetings. It's rampant in our faith community as well. We don't like to admit that, but it is. And I'm going to give you an example. I spoke yesterday at a rather large gathering of people in the faith community. And when I said that if you believe that to be successful in life, to walk in a fit spiritual condition, that you just need to get up earlier in the morning and be determined that you're going to do your devotions with more gusto. You're going to just grow. You got to have more faith. You got to love God more. If you think that is what is going to put you on a plane of healthy spiritual living, you're believing a lie.
Now go and mention that.
What was the response?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I knew who the people were that have recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body, because they started cheering. There was about 5 of them in a room full of about 250 people. You could have heard a pin drop. They took it as an affront on their faith.
Yeah, Melissa, there's only one reason that the pastor and me are going to stand before a just and holy God, and that's because we're cloaked in the righteousness of Christ. Period.
The only
that
reason
doesn't mean that we're not going to be judged and that we're not going to go before the Bema seat.
Right.
But I'm saying that there's only one reason.
I know, and so we try to tell people, the reason you relapse is because you didn't love God enough. The reason you relapse is because you didn't have enough faith. The reason you relapse is because you weren't in the Word of God enough. And I'm telling you that my dependence on, my success of a healthy spiritual condition is based on what God has done for me, not what I do for Him.
That's right.
And I'm telling you that people
they
didn't want to hear that.
You change your life and your conduct because of what He's done for you. You try to live out of that. Faith produces works. Works don't produce faith. So if He does these things for you, and you understand what salvation is, well, then you're going to start doing different things. You're going to live out of those blessings. So I'm going to treat you differently because I'm living out of the blessing that God has gave me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because now I see that I'm not better and I'm not worse. God leveled the playing field because we're all there for the same reason.
God is the playing field.
Yeah. You see why I love her?
I know. Just cuts to the chase, doesn't she? God is the playing field. We could have just said that and been done with the show. That's the truth.
She wants to read something. So.
I want to read something.
Yes.
You guys got to read something. This is on page 55 in the 3rd edition.
Yes.
It says, we can only clear the ground a bit. If our testimony helps sweep away prejudice, enables you to think honestly, encourages you to search diligently within yourself, then if you wish, you can join us on the broad highway. With this attitude, you cannot fail. The consciousness of your belief is sure to come to you.
Mm-hmm. We can only clear the ground a bit.
Yeah, and see what they're doing. Get you to look at yourself, And the way we do that is through these steps. It's the very first time in my life that somebody has given me a method by which to stop blaming God, my wife, my mother. My mother was too good to me. That's why I'm like I am.
Oh, crap.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Well,
See?
check this out. You know how people say it's a we program? I think it's a he program.
Love it.
You know? Because we're not doing too well.
Well,
just us.
Yeah, they really got messed up on the we, I think, because it's the we is the people that wrote the book. They're assuming that you're ignorant and they want to teach you something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it's the we. It's the people there. It's not us. But we, like them, have to do what they did if we want to get what they have.
Yeah.
But that doesn't make it the we about us.
Yeah.
Did I lose you there? What's going on?
Here, draw it out on this piece of paper for me.
Doing this little hillbilly thing.
Well, my friends, we are out of time. And, you know, if you feel so inclined and you know, we get email from people that disagree with us, that's fine. We welcome it. Our email address is take12radio@comcast.net. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can listen by downloading. So how do I get that MP3 download on my computer? It's very simple. Instead of left clicking on the download MP3, right click on it, and it'll say save target as or save as or save, and then you just click on save, and then you choose where on your computer you want to put that, and it'll be on your computer, and then you can make copies of it and that kind of thing. So right click, don't left click, and it'll put it on your hard drive. If you're listening on a smart device or a tablet or something like that, just click on the green download MP3 link. A little play button will show up like on your iPhone or your Android, and you click on the play button. And there you go there. So there's all sorts of ways to listen to the show. I'm going to be working on, and it's a long time coming, but I'm going to be working on getting us on iTunes very, very shortly. So and that's a free thing. So for those of you who have iPhones, you can just subscribe to our iTunes thing. So we need to be doing that. Melissa, gosh, God bless you and the best to you and your family.
Thank you.
I consider you a sister in Christ, and we'll always have that, what do they call it, the fellowship of the Spirit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Will be between us.
That's right. All right, my friends.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, you betcha. All right. Well, until our next broadcast, this is the Monty Man and Melissa T. and Bruce H., and we're wishing God's perfect serenity for you.
This has been a broadcast of Take 12 Recovery Radio and KHLT Recovery Broadcasting.